The Mercedes S-Class has historically been a pioneer of in-car technology, a showcase of what can be done with a box on top of four wheels. Now, this new version has arrived aiming to do just that. It's absolutely brimmed with new technology as well as that attention to detail that people want from a luxurious saloon like this. But in a motoring industry where technology is progressing at such a fierce pace and where EVs are particularly prevalent, can the traditional diesel-powered S-Class still hold its own? That's what we're going to find out today. The exterior look of the S-Class is definitely more of an evolution rather than a revolution. You can definitely tell it's still Mercedes' range-topping saloon car. However, this car has some really neat features like the pop-out handles, the really sleek LED headlights, and the huge front grille that integrates all of its radar technology. This particular car sits on 21-inch alloy wheels as well, which do fill the arches nicely and really do complete the overall look of the car. The interior of the S-Class has always been a showcase of the very best in-car technology that's available at the time, and it's no different in here. In the middle we've got this massive 12.8-inch display, and that's backed by a 12.3-inch display ahead of you. Now you might notice as well that we've lost the rotary controller that you might have seen on previous S-Class models, and that's in favour of just a solely touch and voice operated system. So in the middle you've got all your major controls and media functions, as well as aspects such as the heating and ventilation. Now the screen ahead of you in this car has a 3D setup, so you can see it from whatever angle you're looking at, and it kind of adjusts as you're moving along. It's also got facial recognition, so it can notice if you are dropping off, and it will warn you and wake you up and say stop and get a coffee, even though these seats are very comfortable, so it's actually a little easy to get too relaxed perhaps. Elsewhere, there are a couple of niggles. This plastic isn't great, and these steering wheel buttons are awfully fiddly, so when you're on the move and you're even just trying to swipe to adjust a song, it's far more difficult than it needs to be. However, it's a really high-end feeling place to be, and in typical Mercedes fashion, it's finished to a nice standard too. One of the best seats in the house is in the back of the S-Class. Now, this particular version is a long wheelbase, so as you can see, I've got huge amounts of legroom and loads of headroom. You can adjust your seats here, and they're heated and ventilated as well. And in the middle, there is a separate controller for your heating and ventilation, so you can get the temperature in the back just as you'd like it. These cushioned headrests are particularly pleasant, and it means you can really sit back and relax. Now, as with previous S-Class generations, you can add all manner of optional extras to here, so you can add screens, tablets, to make it into an even more executive feeling place to be. It's well known that the S-Class has always been favoured by those people who want to be driven rather than drive the cars themselves. They want to sit in the back in the most amount of comfort possible and watch the world go by. But with this new one, are you rewarded at all for wanting to drive the car rather than sitting in the rear of it? Well, the answer is yes. This particular model is the S350D, which means it gets a 3-litre inline-6 turbocharged diesel engine with 282 brake horsepower and 600 Nm of torque. And though it's decent in terms of performance and will actually do 0 to 60 in just under 6.5 seconds and 155 miles an hour flat out, it's super refined, and in fact what it does is transform the whole experience into one where you're actually not pushing too hard. You want to drive this car as it feels like it should be driven, which is quietly and in a refined manner. Everything is so well insulated, there's very little wind noise, there's barely any road noise, and in fact that engine, other than when you have to really step on it, settles into the background so that you can actually barely know it's there. In fact, these days, with the prominence of electric cars, the S-Class's job at being as refined as possible is even tougher than before, because you get into an EV and everything is super silent, and that doesn't have an internal combustion engine. So with this car, it really seems like Mercedes has worked hard to isolate as many of those noises as possible. We're riding on air, of course, which is the go-to suspension setup for those companies that want to make a really relaxing, really comfortable car. And the end result is a car that just floats down the road. It does brilliantly well to nail out any of the imperfections in the road, and even larger potholes don't send a shiver through the spine of the car. When it comes to efficiency, Mercedes claims just shy of 40 mpg for the S350, and when combined with a 76-litre fuel tank, that means that the car has got a huge amount of range and will be able to smash those long mileage journeys without really needing to stop for fuel very often. The steering is accurate enough too to make the car quite pleasant to drive, even through narrower roads like the ones we're on today. It's a big car, this, after all, and with large overhangs, but the visibility is good, and actually the overall proportions from inside don't feel too otherworldly. You don't feel like you're driving a school bus. It's pretty good, and with that steering, it means that you can actually drive it pleasantly well through smaller roads without fearing that you're going to hit the side or hit another car, which is always good. It feels like Mercedes really has done it again with the new S-Class. It's still just as pioneering as it always was, and it's packed full of technology which we hope will see trickle down into future Mercedes models. And in fact, the new C-Class already benefits from the S-Class's screen. However, elsewhere, it's still just as well-rounded as always, comfortable and refined, yet still really good to drive. In fact, if you are after a luxurious saloon car, the S-Class, even though it's been around for so long, remains one of the all-time greats. Thank you for watching this Motors.co.uk new car review on the Mercedes S-Class. Now, if you have enjoyed this review, please remember to give us a like. Let us know in the comment box below what you think of the S-Class. And while you're here, please remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video.